During your childhood, you have a lot of obsessions that, looking back, seem ridiculous. But at the time, they were awesome. And the wild part is, we all had the same ones. From slap bracelets to your babysitter you had a crush on that you actually thought you had a chance with, we basically all lived the exact same childhood. So we're gonna go through all of these obsessions and decide whether they were valid or just completely ridiculous. And considering the fact that one of these obsessions ended with me having green skin, there were definitely some dumb ones in here, starting with slap bracelets. Slap bracelets are a perfect example of a toy that were made for one purpose, but everyone who actually bought them used it for a completely different reason. The intended purpose of these bracelets were, you slap it on your wrist, you wear it, great. But what everyone actually used it for was, well, assault. You would walk up behind someone and snap it on the back of their neck as hard as possible. And when slap bracelets were trending, everyone at my school knew this, which was terrifying. Because this meant you could not walk anywhere around school without fearing that at any moment, you might get slapped in the back of your neck. Me and my friends treated the neck snap as an art form. We had a system. During the time when all the students were either in the hallway or at lunch, we would identify a target, sneak up behind them, and strike, and the bracelet would wrap around their neck. But when the victim spins around, we would have already disappeared back into the crowd of students before they could even catch who did it. We thought we were geniuses. Now, does this make us sound like the most insufferable kids at school? And looking back, we probably were. But don't worry, because one day, something happened that made us realize, wow, we really are the problem. It was lunchtime. We're in the cafeteria looking for our next targets, and we spot what looks like an absolutely perfect setup. It's one of the guys I was on the baseball team with, sitting at the end of the table, head down, completely focused on his food. He's totally unaware of his surroundings. I knew it was him because of a sun hat he was wearing. So my friend and I creep up behind him, and wham, clean snap directly to the neck. But then he turned around. It was not a student. It was not the guy from my baseball team I thought it was. You know who it was? A teacher doing cafeteria supervision that happened to have the same sun hat. When we slapped the bracelet on him, the teacher slowly took off his sun hat and everyone went quiet after seeing what just happened. Then he turns around and looks at us. You cannot imagine the fear we had after seeing the teacher's face rather than our friends. Because last time I checked, assaulting a teacher is probably not a good idea. You would think the teacher would forget about the law, but surprisingly, he was very calm. Instead, what he did was get up, pick up his lunch, and say to us, "Come with me." And we all walked directly to the principal's office. He went in, told the principal exactly what happened, snitch, and then you could probably guess what happened next. That's right, the school exploded. No, I'm just kidding. We got detention. That was the end of my slap bracelet era, which meant I had to move on to a new obsession. An obsession that I know every single one of you watching also had, because it meant you get to skip school. I'm talking about field trips. Field trips were the greatest invention in the history of human civilization, right along with the air fryer and LeBron James. Because field trips weren't actually about learning anything. Nobody went to the science museum and came back as a changed person. We were just happy to be outside of the classroom because none of us go outside anymore. And when I say us, yes, I mean me and you. We both don't touch grass, twin. But because I was so obsessed with field trips, I was willing to commit actual crimes to attend one. Which brings me to a story that you definitely should not try doing yourself. My school had a fundraiser one day where whichever class raised the most money won a special trip to the aquarium. My class did not win, so I was super butthurt because I missed out on a free day off school. But luckily for me, I had a couple friends in the class that did win. So I told them how jealous I was that they were going on a field trip and I wasn't. They came up with a plan to sneak me onto the field trip. The buses were leaving at 8 a.m. All I had to do was blend in, get on the bus, and by the time anyone realized I wasn't supposed to be there, we would already be at the aquarium. The teacher would have no real choice but to let me stay. What were they gonna do? Call another bus to bring me back? Drive 45 minutes back to school just to drop off one kid? Literally the only thing we had to do was get me on that bus without the teacher noticing. And honestly, the plan was working at first. My friends basically formed a circle around me so the teacher couldn't see me. And as students were slowly filing onto the bus, we waited till the teacher was distracted with something else and we all got on the bus. Obviously, we went straight to the back to get as far away from her as possible. I just crouched down on the floor, hoping the teacher wouldn't come back here before leaving. But then I heard it. The engine started and all of a sudden, the bus was moving. The plan was actually working. I was actually gonna make it to see Nemo. All good things have to come to an end though, because then the teacher stood up. Now, I don't know why, in all of my strategic planning, I did not account for the most predictable thing a teacher does on a field trip, which is count the children to happen. Like, it's literally their only job on these trips. Don't lose the students. So she starts walking down the aisle, moving toward the back, and I, with my incredible instincts, decided that the best course of action was to become as small as I could and put my friends' backpacks on top of me. I thought it would just hide me completely. But when the teacher got to the back, she said to my friend Garrett,
"Garrett, why do you have so many backpacks stacked up right there?"
And Garrett just went,
to save space.
But the teacher wasn't having it, so she told him to move the backpacks, and when he did, there I was, staring straight up at her. Now this is the part that frustrates me, because this happened about 5 minutes after leaving, so the teacher turned the bus around and dropped me back off at school. I had to walk back in there in silence while everyone watched from the window. You can't imagine how humiliating that was. And then, as a bonus prize, I got detention for it. If we had just drove for like 5 more minutes, I doubt she even would have turned back. That aquarium actually closed down recently too, so I'll never get a chance to go to it anymore. What even happens when an aquarium closes? Do the fish just fly away? They put them in the ocean? Now in this scenario, I was trying to be invisible, but that definitely wasn't the case for my next obsession, which was superheroes. At some point in every kid's life, you pick your specific hero and you become a ride or die for them. I didn't want to be the super smart one or the wealthy one or the one that could fly. I wanted to be the one who was so uncontrollably angry that he turned green. So Halloween comes around one year. My mom asks what I want to be, and the answer is obvious. I say Hulk without hesitating. She says, great, we'll get you a costume at Spirit Halloween. But I looked at her and said, no, a costume from Spirit Halloween is not enough. I need to actually
be green.
Now, little did I know at the time, this would be a decision that ruined the whole next week of my life. My mom, who, shout out to her, didn't say I was insane or that she didn't want to go through all this work. No, instead, she said, okay, let's get you some paint and make you green. So we got the paint and painted me green from head to toe. Like, my whole body. Well, I guess not my whole body, if you know what I mean. But anyways, I loved it. When I looked down at my arms, they were green. I had the purple shirts on, doing poses in the bathroom mirror, and when we went trick-or-treating, it was perfect. Adults were complimenting my costume all night. Other kids looked scared, wondering why there's a 4-foot-tall Hulk going around. It was amazing. But I should have known it wouldn't last, because we got home, and I got in the shower trying to get my paint off. But there was a problem. It would not come off. I scrubbed harder, still completely, fully green. It still doesn't work. The paint was designed to survive sweat, heat, and water. My mom had accidentally purchased professional cinema level permanent body paint and applied it to her small child the night before a school day. The only solution was to wait for it to wear off naturally, which took 3 full days of showering and scrubbing. And during those 3 days, I had to go to school, just walking into school looking like a green bean. When you're green on Halloween, everyone thinks you're really cool. When you're green the day after Halloween, everyone just thinks you're autistic. That first day back at school is one I will never forget. Literally everyone would look at me no matter where I went. But the worst part was trying to explain it to anybody. So instead of trying to do that, I just didn't explain it at all. The only person I actually told about it was my teacher, because she asked if I was going through problems at home, and I said, well, yeah, my mom turned me green forever. But if you mean something else, no problems. I kind of miss being green though, so maybe next year I'll dress up as a crayon. This was painful mentally because of the embarrassment at school, but I also had some childhood obsessions that were painful physically, like animals. Animals were my entire personality as a kid. Now, of course, that doesn't make me different from anyone else because basically everyone loves animals growing up. Honestly, I wouldn't trust you if you weren't obsessed with animals. But I took it a step further. I knew the most random facts about all these animals. Like, did you know
the pistol shrimp creates a cavitation bubble that briefly reaches the temperature of the sun?
I didn't either. To be honest, I looked that up for the video because I was trying to impress you guys. But I still did know some facts. And as we all know, I might have a little bit of the tism. At least that's what my mom says. So just looking at animals wasn't enough for me. I needed more. So when I was about 8 years old, my parents took me to the zoo. And this was basically the best day of my life. Seeing the lions and tigers close up, smelling the elephant poop, the whole experience was just awesome. And eventually, we got to the orangutan exhibit. They're just chilling, as calm as can be, and I'm thinking to myself,
I wish I could be inside there.
But funny enough, the fence for the orangutan exhibit was only about 2 feet tall. There was 2 fences, so it was like one fence, then a couple feet, and then another fence. But they were both very easy to jump over if someone wanted to. And I wanted to. So when my parents looked away for 1 second, I jumped over the fences. I was inside the exhibit before anyone had processed what was even happening. My parents turned around and I was on the wrong side of the fence, inside a real zoo enclosure. I wasn't trying to go pet an orangutan or anything, so I didn't get any closer. I just wanted to be in the exhibit with them. So a couple months ago, I had a cough that just wouldn't go away. Literally had it for 2 months straight. At first, I was like, oh, it'll probably get better. No need to worry about it. Then 2 weeks passed and I thought, surely it's almost done by now. But then a month went by and I was still coughing. It took 2 whole months of me coughing for my parents to say, Tyler, you need to go get this checked out. So I did, and I got it fixed. But you might be wondering, why didn't I get it checked out sooner? Well, to put it simply, I just hated booking doctor's appointments. Everything about it. Like, how was I gonna know that I could find a doctor who knows exactly what's going on with me? The whole process was just annoying. But luckily, that's not a problem anymore, thanks to today's video sponsor, ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free website that lets you find and book in-network doctors. You can search by specialty or symptom, see doctors near you, read patient reviews, and actually get a feel for who you're booking with. They've got over 150,000 providers across all 50 states, covering everything from primary care and dentists to dermatologists, eye doctors, and way more. And whether you want an in-person appointment or a video visit, they've got what works best for you. My favorite part about ZocDoc is the booking process is so much easier than any other way of doing it. It literally happens at the snap of a finger. Appointments usually happen fast too, typically within 24 to 72 hours, and sometimes even the same day. And it's not just for one thing. ZocDoc has providers that have experience in over 200 specialties, from primary care to mental health, dental, eye care, and way more. So if you've been putting off a doctor's appointment like I was, go to ZocDoc.com/Tyler Vitelli and book a top-rated doctor today. Now back to the video. Obviously, when my mom saw me inside the exhibit, she screamed,
Tyler, you get back here right now!
And you would think, if you're inside an exhibit with an animal that could very easily turn you into dinner if they wanted to, you would be scared of that animal. But I was way more scared of my mom. So I hopped back over the fence in approximately 2 seconds. A zoo employee who heard the screaming came over, saw that a child was climbing back from the exhibit, and very calmly escorted our family out of the orangutan area. Not the whole zoo, just that section. Then she looked at my parents, she looked at me, and knew none of us could be trusted near the orangutans anymore. She understood it was a mistake and just told us to not do that again or they would have to kick us out of the zoo. So my mom took that as a chance to say,
You hear that, Tyler? Do you want to get banned from the zoo? If not, you better never do that again.
She just said we would get kicked out, but whatever. From that point on, I never climbed into another exhibit again. Well, at least until one day when I was in Cincinnati and I saw this gorilla named Harambe. Nah, I'm just kidding. That wasn't me. Rest in peace, Harambe, though. I miss you, dog. Now, only certain people can relate to this next obsession because to experience what I'm about to say, you would have needed a babysitter growing up. But my babysitter left me with trauma I still have to this day, and let me explain why. For those of you who didn't have a babysitter growing up, congrats. Your parents probably took care of you all the time, or they would just leave you at home by yourself, which is concerning. But if you've never have had a babysitter, let me explain why this was a childhood obsession we all had. When you're a little kid, you're delusional. So when someone shows up to your house every day, they're constantly nice to you, they're fun, and they even make you food, you start to think, wait, this person must like me. And when I say like, I mean like we have some chemistry, if you know what I'm saying. And when I was 8 years old and I thought an older girl liked me, this was my dream. So one afternoon, while she was babysitting me, I decided I was not gonna let the moment pass anymore. I walked up to her and asked if she would be my girlfriend. She smiled, was as nice as possible, and said to me,
Oh, Tyler, that's so sweet, but I have a boyfriend.
The moment she said that, you could see me turning into Syndrome from The Incredibles in real time. I cried for hours. She tried to console me, but after finding out that my one true love had a boyfriend this whole time, I was broken. So eventually, my mom gets home that day and asks why I'm so upset. And I didn't tell her the details of what happened, but I did say to her that I wanted a new babysitter because it felt like my current babysitter was cheating on me.
Cheating on you? What do you mean she's cheating on you?
So I explained the situation to my mom, but the next thing she did was heartbreaking because she said to me,
Why would you think the babysitter liked you in that way?
So I told her, well, the babysitter's always coming over to hang out, she's super nice, and she makes me food. Because my mom starts chuckling and goes,
Tyler, I pay her to do all those things. She's not coming over just to hang out with you for fun.
This was the moment where I found out. She didn't just decide to come hang out with an 8-year-old for fun every day. No, this was actually her job. And from that point on, I could never trust a babysitter. This was my first true heartbreak. I'm done with being so negative and always having heartbreak in my life. Surely there's gotta be some moments growing up that were actually happy memories, right? Yes, actually there were. And a particularly happy memory I have of my childhood is bottle flipping. Bottle flipping is just a you had to be there to understand it type of thing. On paper, it doesn't seem crazy. You just flip a bottle and try to land it. That's the entire activity. But yet, when bottle flipping was trending, people were obsessed with it. I'm talking competitions involving the whole school. And if you were really good at it, you'd probably get on the Ellen Show. And my school was always trying to do things to get kids excited to actually wake up in the morning and learn for 6 hours straight. So they organized a bottle flipping tournament. There was a bracket and anyone could sign up to be on the list. The format was simple. People would go head to head and flip bottles at the same time. If you both land it, you go again until one person misses. It happened at lunch, and let me tell you, the whole school would show up to watch. The nerds, the goth kids, the kids who have been in the same grade for 3 years, peers, the kids you're extra nice to because you fear what they're capable of. People took it very seriously, and I was right in the middle of it. And while I was pretty decent at bottle flipping and I really wanted to win it all, I knew the competition would be tough because there was one man participating who, I won't use his name, but he knows who he is. And this man had a gift that I genuinely believe he was born with. He could land a bottle flip on command every single time with a consistency that most professional athletes would envy. I genuinely never saw him miss a bottle flip. So whenever someone was up against him in the bracket, they basically knew they were cooked. Now I made it past the first 4 rounds and was into the quarterfinals feeling pretty good. But guess who my next opponent was? He who shall not be named. I thought I was cooked. I thought I had no chance because this man could literally not miss. But on one specific day, something happened. When we were going up against each other, first of all, it was a huge crowd, but every flip I threw was landing. Back to back to back to back to back to back to back. I was in complete flow state, and the crowd started noticing. The energy was shifting. This wasn't supposed to be happening. He was landing all of his flips too, because of course he was, but I was landing mine, and that was the part that had never happened before. For the first time ever, you could see my opponent start to look slightly nervous. We hit 5 in a row, then 6, then I'm not gonna say it. But by the time we were at 8, every student would hold their breath when we flipped and then go, ooh, when someone landed it. Like people were standing up. We both landed the 9th flip, but then we picked up our bottles for the 10th. And you know what happened when his flipped? It missed. I had never seen him miss. Nobody had. The crowd went insane. I stood there in the quiet center of all of it, looking at his bottle on its side of the table, understanding that this was an opportunity that may never come again. If I landed this one bottle flip, it was over. So I picked up the bottle, took a deep breath, and I flipped it. But right when it left my finger, it felt different than all the other flips. Because before, I wasn't even thinking. I was just flipping it using muscle memory and it was landing. But I didn't do that this time. So when I flipped the bottle, it barely rotated. It just sort of flopped sideways and came to rest completely horizontal on the table. I missed my one shot. Because here's the thing you gotta know about me. I ain't built for high pressure moments. You know how some athletes just perform best when the lights are bright? I'm the exact opposite. The moment the pressure is on, I crumble. So of course, the crowd let out a big moan after I missed because they wanted to see the favorite go down. Then my opponent went again and he landed the bottle and I missed 2 in a row. So it was over and he was still the champion and I choked. Looking back on it now, if that bottle did land, it would have been my most impressive athletic achievement. It's kind of sad actually. I had so much dopamine during that flipping session, but let me take you back to the moment where my dopamine addiction started. It wasn't the day I got my first phone. It wasn't from playing video games. My first dopamine addiction came from fidget spinners. The fidget spinner era lasted about 4 seconds, but man, were those 4 seconds legendary. Now for the younger people out there who weren't really around for the fidget spinner era, you might not see what made this thing so popular. And if I tried explaining to you why these little fidget toys were the biggest thing on planet Earth, it probably wouldn't make much sense now. It was just another one of those things you had to be there for. But here's the thing. The obsession with fidget spinners wasn't really about the actual spinning part. It was entirely about the different types of fidget spinners because there were some really cool designs. So if you just had a basic red one that spun for 15 seconds, cool, get in line, buddy. But if you had a glow in the dark one, okay, now we're talking. There were so many different tiers of how cool a fidget spinner could be. But the really cool fidget spinners were super expensive, so not a lot of people had them. I had a standard one and I wanted nothing more than to get a custom rare one. The issue was my parents would never buy me a $100 fidget spinner and I was broke, so I couldn't upgrade mine. So I went online to find something that would separate me from the crowd and I found it immediately. A $50 fidget spinner with a metal frame, 3 different colors that changed depending on what lighting you looked at them in, and it spun for 3 minutes. It was absolutely perfect. I needed it. But once again, I didn't have the money. The only thing a child could do in this situation. I went into my mom's purse, I found her card, and I bought the fidget spinner without saying anything to anyone. I knew that in a few days, I was gonna walk into school with the most elite fidget spinner in the building. But 3 days later, my mom sits me down out of nowhere and asks,
Tyler, did you use my credit card to buy something?
I said no with zero hesitation, but I could tell she already knew. Apparently, she'd gotten a purchase notification the second the transaction went through, which I didn't know that was a thing until that day. But she wasn't asking me if I used her card to find out if I actually bought anything. She was giving me a chance to tell the truth. And I looked her in the eyes and lied without blinking. But the fidget spinner was already on its way, right? So she was just gonna have to let me have it. After catching me lying, she then told me the website I bought it from was a scam. It was a fake store that collected your payment information and sent you nothing. She had to cancel her credit card, call the bank, dispute the charges, blah, 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 all because I wanted a $50 fidget spinner with diamonds in it. I got grounded, the fidget spinner never arrived, and this was so heartbreaking because I really thought if if I got that special fidget spinner, everyone would have been circling around me wanting to try it, thinking I was cool. But instead, no one thought I was cool. I do have to say though, without a doubt, one of the coolest things I remember from my childhood was the Odell Beckham Jr. catch. If you've never seen it before, here it is. But this catch caught everyone by storm. After this, people would always say, hey, I'm gonna do the Odell catch. Every kid wanted to be Odell. But I took that to the next level, because I even wanted to look like Odell. He had a haircut at the time I thought was awesome. Bleached blonde, curly hair with a fade. I wanted that haircut bad. So I went to my mom and told her about it. My mom looked at me for about a second and then said,
Tyler, you cannot get this haircut.
I was very stubborn. So I said, no, Mom, you don't understand. I need this haircut. I will do whatever it takes to get it. And because I complained for a whole week over this, my mom gave in and said,
I'll take you to the barber and get you that haircut.
not every person can have the same exact haircut. And let's just say, me and Odell do not have the same hair type. So I went to the barber, showed him the cut I wanted, and he gave it to me. When he said he was done, I was so excited for that chair to turn around and see how awesome my hair looked. But the barber swung my chair around, and I looked a lot less like Odell and way more like Big Bird. I literally just had the same haircut, but it was yellow, not even blonde, and it wasn't curly at all. It was just straight. I was bawling crying, and I asked why I didn't look like Odell's, and the barber explained to me that Odell has curly hair and I have straight, so it's just not possible. So I went to school with this goofy looking haircut, which is a place where hats are not allowed. One person even asked me why I would do that, and I had to explain that I was going for the Odell Beckham Jr. haircut. But he just responded back to me saying,
Did Odell do a Michael Jackson and become white?
that haircut lasted about 2 weeks before I simply could not take it anymore, and my brown roots started to show, so I said, forget it, we gotta go bald. And let's just say, I do not have the head shape for a buzz cut. I looked like an egg. But you know what? Since you guys like to see me suffer for some reason, if this video gets 100,000 likes, which will not happen again, I will go bald. Please don't make me do that.